Hi, I'm Barbara Dillon, Editor-in-Chief of Fanbase Press. In light of the 2023 Writers Guild of America and SAG-AFTRA strikes, we at Fanbase Press not only want to show our solidarity with the striking workers, but we also seek to help educate and inform our community members about why the strikes are happening, their potential impact, and how you can get involved. With me today is Joelle Garfinkel, who has worked on 20 shows during her 16-year career as a post-PA, writer's assistant, showrunner's assistant, script coordinator, staff writer, and freelance TV writer. During that time, she created the web series Cam Girls, penned episodes for Tig and Seek, Foundation, and Fire Country, and was staffed on NBC's Ordinary Joe. Her play, Residual Fear, based on her personal experience with pregnancy loss, was a Eugene O'Neill semi-finalist. Joelle was also a WB Writers Workshop finalist and a participant in the Jewish Federation's Masterclass program. She's the founder of Green Envelope Grocery Aid, a mutual aid fund that awards $100 grocery grants to all industry professionals in need. Joelle, it's such a pleasure to chat with you today. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always so overwhelming, like hearing all that back. It's like, oh my gosh, it's a lot.
You've done a lot in your career, and we want to celebrate that and also call upon that experience for this chat that we're going to have today and why this strike is so important. So as noted in your introduction, you do have a wealth of experience as a writer in various media. What can you tell viewers about when you first became a member of the WGA and why you felt that it was important to join?
Yeah, so I officially became a member in 2015, but my first experience in a writer's room was actually when I was still in college. I went to Cal State Northridge, and part of the curriculum was getting an internship, and I was lucky enough that I got to intern on Smallville. It was just such an amazing experience for a 20-year-old to be like, I'm in a writer's room, and this is like actually happening, and this is how people, this is the career that I want to have. And even back then as an intern, the fact that there were internships and, and a full staff, that is something that I've seen, dramatically decrease since I've been working in this industry. And we also, part of my job as an intern was getting, Starbucks for the writers twice a day. And so, there's just been such a decrease of workers' value since I've been working in the past 16 years. But yeah, so I officially joined in 2015, and, it had always been a dream of mine to be in the Writers Guild because, I think especially growing up in LA, seeing the impact of this group of writers that, doing the thing that you want to do.
And you spoke about it a little bit, but just to expound upon it, there are lots of benefits to joining the Writers Guild. What are some of the benefits, whether it be in your career and its advancement or health and wellness benefits that have been provided to you as being part of the union?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it does give, especially in any sort of art career, we're always looking for that legitimacy. And so I think, finding that legitimacy as a writer, it's either getting an agent, getting staffed on a show, or getting into the guild. So I think that, you do get that from being in the guild and a wealth of community and, resources. Also, for me, the medical benefits, as an assistant, it wasn't until script coordinators and writers assistants joined EOTC that we were able to get, health benefits. So joining as the guild, like those health benefits are amazing. I think it was actually the second day of the strike. I had taken my son to Children's Hospital, because we got to go to a special doctor for something that he has. And, and it was so special because afterwards I was like, I'm able to take him here and like get the healthcare that I need. And so of course I'm going to take him to the strike afterwards to pick it because he wouldn't have this. And I wouldn't have had that if I didn't have the insurance I had.
Well, I'm so glad that you and your son had that opportunity. That's so wonderful. And I hope that he's okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Good. Joelle, it may be challenging for some folks, especially those outside of the industry, to understand why both the WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes are happening and how we got here. And especially what is at stake. So how did we get here?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a big question, but I think that it's a few things. It's a little bit of what I touched upon, my experience in that first room that I was versus now. And we've just seen with, a devaluing of workers and in these big corporations, especially, corporations like Apple and Amazon, who are known for, not being the best when it comes to workers' rights. And so, so I think that we're in an inflection point with that, as well as, the streaming model has completely taken over not only our industry, but many. And so, we are at a point where we need to figure out what the new business model is. And so those two things are, obviously a big tipping point. And then you add in, the AI on top of all of that. And so it does feel very, very critical right now that we come out with a deal that is, that is like taking into account the work that we do and that we should be valued for.
Absolutely. And I feel like some of those topics and some of the sticking points that you're trying to get the Producers Guild to move forward on can be a little amorphous, again, for those outside of the industry. You've already touched on some. The AI, I think, is a big one and has been a big conversation for mass audiences to understand. Some are a little more amorphous, as I said, things like residuals and the lengths of seasons. How have you seen those two things really impact your work and the work of your colleagues?
Yeah, so I was lucky enough that I've mainly worked in broadcast, which is traditional, CBS, ABC, NBC, and that is a completely different payment scale than streaming. And so when we talk about residuals, the payment scale for residuals for streaming versus broadcast, there's no comparison. I just got the residual check that actually started the fund that I started. That was a $10,000 check. I'd never seen a check like that before. The average, I would say, of residual checks now are less than the postage, and that's not hyperbole. I've gotten checks for 22 cents and been like, the postage is more. So and so, that is not something to sustain us. Part of the reason that I've been um have been as comfortable as I have during the strike is because I've gotten more residual checks in the past 2 months from the broadcast show I worked on last year than I have in my entire career. And so, and I think, a lot of people, the preconceived notion about residuals is like, well, this is just money on top of you were already paid for a script. And, unlike other industries, we are giving up our copyright. We do not make any further money on what those initial script fees are. And even those are getting less and less, especially in the streaming, world. Again, that payment scale for streaming is way less than broadcast. So there's just been, a tightening of purse strings all over. And the other big issue I think that you're hearing a lot about is mandatory staffing. And so, and for me personally, as someone who's been stuck at the staff writer level, that is something that would impact because, we hear all the time from different studios that we would love to staff this person, but we don't have the budget, for this. Um, by allowing, minimum staffing size, that would that would obliterate that argument and allow, for more people to be in rooms. Because like I said, when I first started out, writers' rooms, there were 12 people was the norm. I don't think I've been in a writer's room, even on the show that I was most recently on, which is a huge hit. We have way less than that. So, we're seeing this tightening all over.
Absolutely. Now, on the guild side of things, there are a lot of do's and don'ts that, when it comes to the kinds of actions that striking workers can do while the strike is on. Could you explain why these prescriptions are so important to the strike?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because when I read that question, I was like, I didn't feel like there were actually that many. I mean, the biggest don't is just, not to work right now. And that is to give agency to ourselves so that way we can, set up our negotiating committee for the best possible deal, that we can have. And that's why there was some pushback in terms of like the SAG when they were giving those waivers, because in order to have a work stoppage, it should be a complete work stoppage. But that's all, that I feel in terms of that, is that it's just to give ourselves agency.
Absolutely. And I feel like sometimes we as consumers of media may have questions as well as to should we be boycotting these companies to show our solidarity with the striking workers? And I know that can differ, based on who you talk
Yeah.
to, but what are your thoughts? What are your feelings on that?
I mean, I personally feel, there was that question initially when we started the strike, and, the best, most effective method is to support the strike and bring awareness. That's why this chat today is so important. And I think as much as we can bring awareness to the strike, and it's just boycotting is just not, it's not the most helpful direct action. What is the more helpful direct action is also donating to the mutual aid fund, so that way we can give resources to the people that are the most effective, or most affected. I'm sorry.
It's okay. That's okay. Joelle, I know that I'm putting you on the spot about this, but I want to really underscore and highlight your work with the Green Envelope Grocery Aid
Yeah.
organization. Would you mind telling our viewers a little bit more about it and how it helps?
Yeah, absolutely. So Green Envelope is an organization that I started about a month into the strike, and it was the result of me getting a residuals check, which comes in green envelopes, hence why it's named that. And it was a decent size residual check, enough to pay for my bills that next month. And the relief I felt was so palpable that I wanted to pass on that relief. To people that are the most affected in the strike, typically our support staff, so PAs, writers assistants, along those lines. And so I gave $100 to our PA, our amazing PA on Fire Country. And she was so grateful. I was like, I want to do this to someone else that's really struggling. And so I, went on Twitter back when it was still called Twitter, and made a post about it. And what was surprising was we got a lot of people that were asking, for the help, and to be considered for what was initially a raffle. But what was even more amazing was writers that I knew. They were like, I just got a residuals check, I would like to contribute, And so that's what started the fund. And that first day that I started, after I called my accountant to make sure that this was a feasible thing, we raised over $5,000, and it's just been steadily growing since. So we are a mutual aid fund that provides $100 grants to anyone that works in the industry. You just need either a union card or IMDb link, and the wait list is about 2 weeks now, because I'm the only one that sends it. It's a one-woman operation, with some help, in between. And it's, to date, we've raised almost 120K, and have given over 1,100 grocery grants, and it's been incredible. And I think it really underscores and highlights like what people are really struggling right now, going into 100 days financially, and this just provides some relief. There's also other amazing resources. The Writers Guild has, strike fund loans, and Entertainment Community Fund. They've got different grants available, depending on, for just general EOTC members, and also for support staff. So there's a ton of resources, and I'm also happy I can send you a link after we're done talking if you want to share it with
That would
others.
be wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And likewise, that link, we can put it in the comments of this video. Is that the same place if there are other union members who would like to donate, or members or individuals outside of the unions? What would be the best way for them to donate as well?
Yeah, so I have a flyer that I can share with you that has links to donate to Green Envelope Aid. And then in the resources, which is actually a list that Women in Film put together, it has all the information on how to donate, how to apply, and all that stuff. So I will share both of those things. But donations for Green Envelope, we can take via Venmo and PayPal.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you, Joelle. That's so wonderful and magnanimous of you to do. So thank you for all of that work.
Yeah.
You've been so helpful and so informative. In our final moments, are there any other resources or words of advice or just websites that you would encourage folks to visit if they wanted to learn more about the strikes, about the unions themselves, or just the experiences of those going through it?
Yeah, so the Writers Guild and SAG-AFTRA, both of their websites, they have strike hubs, and that can give you all the information you could possibly want on how to support and just be aware of all the issues that we're talking about. And like I said, the best way to support is, bringing awareness to it, actually discussing the issues. So again, thank you so much for what you guys are doing. And join a picket line. We love having the support of, there's so many people that are there that are not in the guild, and it's amazing having that. And donating to mutual aid funds, because those are the ones that are actually giving direct assistance to the people who need it most right now.
Excellent. Well, Joelle, again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the work that you're doing to support the union and to support the strike. And we wish you the absolute best as the strike continues.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you.